News Radio 92.3 and AM 1620. Welcome back to the Pensacola Expert Panel. Travis Thompson's here from Climatech. Welcome back to the Pensacola Expert Panel, sir. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Very good. Glad to be back.
Glad to be back. I mean, we're not so excited about the weather that we're having today.
No.
Gosh, humid and just yucky. I don't know what other way to describe it, but we're going to be talking about all things Climatech. So what are some things we're going to be covering today?
Well, there were a few things we could discuss. One thing I got a phone call on yesterday, actually, from another person in the industry about some commercials that are out right now referencing the R22 or refrigerant 22, which is an older refrigerant that's going away. There are some laws that have been passed on refrigerant 22, what can and can't be done with it. The EPA regulates it, and as of this year, you can no longer bring R22 into the country to sell it, and you can't manufacture it in the country. R22 is an older refrigerant. Any system you've bought in the last 15 years is not going to use it. But what some of the advertisements are trying to persuade customers to believe there's nothing they can do anymore with their R22 systems. That's not true. You can still repair. You can still use even the R22 that you take out of their system, you can put back in. But there's also blends that have been made that can be, you can replace the R22 with other blends and your system will still function. Now, having said that, if you've got a system and it's over 15 years old, it probably has reached its life expectancy of that unit. So there is something to be said there about, is it the best decision? But there are customers that may just be in a situation where they can't do something right then except for repair. And if that's the case, something can be done about it. And it, there's some companies out there that are trying to leverage that into forcing people to believe they have to buy a new system. And I don't like those tactics. I want to be upfront with the customer, let them know all their options, and then let them decide based on that and what the prices are going to be.
Yeah, and that's why you got to do business with people that you can trust. I mean, this is a huge investment. I mean, your home and your comfort and everything like that. So you need to do business with, Climatech, someone like Travis that can tell you all of these things. He's not just trying to move on to the next project. He really takes time for his clients.
Right, and I think that's important. And I'm not saying it's just me. There are many air conditioning companies in this area that are very good, very reputable companies. But there's a lot of them that aren't, and that's just the truth of it. And I'm not saying that's just the HVAC industry. I'm sure that's everywhere. You've got companies that very well know what they're doing, but they take the approach of sell, and they have to do that based on certain ways their businesses are ran. And then you have other companies that just may not really know enough about what they're doing. And, I think it's wise to kind of investigate a company you're going to choose. I'm not saying it has to be me, but investigate and make sure you're finding a company that kind of has that approach to things. Let them explain to you the truths about what things are. Let them explain to you what your options are, and then show you multiple options. I see it quite a bit now where a lot of people are only given one choice. Well, air conditioning systems, if I bid something for your house, there's a plethora of choices out there for you that, I will try to narrow it down to make it simple, but I want to basically give you a good, better, best type thing and let you look at it and let you decide, because while everybody has their opinion on what you need, you have a budget and that has to fit too. So you have to make everything work.
Absolutely. Well, this is a call-in show, so if you have a question or a comment or you want to join in on the conversation, you can give us a call or give us a text at 850-437-1620 if you have any problems with your HVAC system, or if you have any questions. Again, that number is 850-437-1620. We do have a question that just came through. My AC system seems to have more rust on it than paint. Is there anything I can do to prevent rust on my outside AC unit?
Oh, that's a little bit tricky, because the rust itself on the steel portion of the unit, it's hard to treat that, because you don't want to paint it, because if you paint over it, you're going to get paint on the coils, which is your heat transfer. You don't want to cover that up with paint. You would have to do some form of disassembly to really paint that and get it right. That's something that it depends on how the system's built. They're all a little bit different. There are things you can do to kind of pretty them up, but you do want to be careful not to spray paints and things on it, because you can actually harm the unit covering up some of your coil surface.
Okay, perfect. Again, 850-437-1620 is the number to call or text. We were kind of jumping into it a little bit, but what should people be looking for in an AC contractor?
That's a good question. I guess one thing that really jumps out at me is if you're in a situation where it's time to replace your system or you're thinking about replacement, when you have a company come out, there's a few things that you want to make sure that you're looking for that company's going to do. One of those would be a load calculation. Doing a load calculation on a house is first and foremost. You have to know what size air conditioning system that house needs. Now, if I come to your house and you have a 3-ton, me assuming that a 3-ton is correct is putting trust in someone who installed that years ago that we don't know if they did a load calculation or not, and the house may have changed. So every time they come out, if you're going to replace a system, you should have someone concerned and doing a load calculation, and they should be able to provide it for you to look at if you'd like to, that's going to take into account your house. Anyone that comes out that starts talking to you about the amount of square foot you have means you need this much AC, that is completely false.
Oh, really?
No, that is not true. You can take the exact same house with the same square footage and turn it 90 degrees on a piece of paper, meaning instead of it facing north and south, now you face it east and west. Well, all of your glass surfaces now face different directions with different heat gain from the sun. So if the back of my house faces the sunlight in the evening, I've got several hours there that if I don't have a porch on that house, I've got a lot of direct sunlight coming in that I have to account for. If I turn that house and face that same glass to the north, that glass never sees the sun. So it's a big difference, and it can make, a half a ton or even a ton worth of AC difference. So those are one thing that you really want to watch for is the load calculation, make sure that's getting done. And the other one would be inspecting your ductwork. If somebody's coming out and giving you a price and they haven't looked at your ductwork to even know what they're going to be forcing the air through, you may want to reconsider because you really need to make sure that they're paying attention to those things.
Yeah, sir. I never thought of it that way because I always thought, especially when I was looking at my bill, like the size of the house and does this have any effect on it or how we're running our AC? But I guess it doesn't.
Well, and the size of the house does matter, but it also has a lot of other things in it too. Cathedral ceilings make a difference. The way the house is insulated makes a difference because when the house was built new, it may have been insulated with 24 inches worth of insulation. Well, that insulation may now be 12 inches because it's settled over the years. So all those things kind of need to come into account when you get time to replace it with a new one to make sure that the new one is going to not only function, but if you're looking for a higher efficiency system, you don't want to throw money out the window because these other things weren't accounted for.
Very interesting. All right. Well, we do have a kind of a follow-up question to the rust question before, but do AC warranties cover rust damage?
Yes, some of them, and rust is kind of a strange word to use. Usually it's corrosion damage is what we deal with. As far as a metal panel being rusted, I don't know that anybody really warranties against that. I haven't dealt with that in particular. Now, corrosion on the coil, we do deal with that quite a bit. We deal with American Standard product that actually has an aluminum coil outside, and it is warranted for 10 years. The coil life is warranted. It is one of the only manufacturers out there that does that. Most of your manufacturers, if you read the fine print, does not cover warranty for corrosion, especially salt corrosion, but they do stand behind their product on theirs. So, but as far as rust goes, I haven't seen anybody actually deal with a warranty issue on rust.
That's very interesting. Again, 850-437-1620. You can give us a call or give us a text. We got another text message question that asked, how much do you charge for a diagnosis?
Our diagnosis is $85. And our diagnosis comes with it's a list of things that we perform on your system. So we kind of had to critique that a little bit because going to a house and just looking for what's wrong led to more callbacks and things of that nature. So in a diagnosis for us, we want to check the system stem to stern, go through the whole thing inside and out. Even if we walk up and know immediately what the problem is, we want to look at everything else because something else may have caused that problem. So we don't want to just fix that problem and have it come right back on you, as well as, we may fix that problem and you had another one lurking, fixing to happen. So We try to take that full time that we allot for that diagnosis and go through the whole system, and then we should know everything that's going on with your system by then.
And that's good, just to make sure that you have gotten any outliers of what it could be. Because I've dealt with people. I mean, I've rented. I haven't owned my own home. So sometimes they just send out, I mean, whoever is working with the property management. And I feel like it's never a thorough, examination of what I really need.
That's right.
And then they leave, they put a Band-Aid on it and say, okay, if you have any more problems, call us. And I'm waiting to hear back from them. And it's kind of like a game of cat and mouse when it comes to that. So I like that with Climatech. You come in, you do the whole examination, and you can kind of give them a rundown of exactly what they need and finish it start to finish.
Right. And we try to do that. I mean, in running a business, we're going to charge you to be there. So we want to do our best to give you everything we can in that time we've allotted, not just walk up and say, hey, the fan motor's bad. Okay, that may be the case, but let's look at everything else. And there's cases like that where the fan motor may be bad. We may have to actually do a repair to completely finish our diagnosis because we can't check certain things without that fan motor running. So, every case is a little bit different, but that's our charge for the diagnosis, and that's not just a walking up to say, hey, this is what's wrong with it either.
All righty. We have another question that came through. Are there benefits to building a covering over your AC unit?
You have to be really careful with that because an air conditioning system is designed, the outdoor unit is designed to get rid of heat. So most systems, the air is pulled in through the sides and it's discharged up out of the top. Now, there's a few that vary slightly from that, but that's the way most of them are. So if we put a covering over the top that is restrictive at all, we wind up taking that hot air that we just removed the heat from. Well, now we take that heat that we've removed and we recirculate it back down to our unit. And then that raises the temperature of the air going into that unit. Therefore, it's less effective at removing heat. So if you build a cover over it, there are criteria that you need to follow depending on your manufacturer. And you can go to most manufacturers and find out what that is. But just be careful that you're not trapping heat, because it's great to keep the dirt and the leaves out of it, but you don't want to recirculate that heat.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us, everybody, our listening audience, your number one more time? Some people are asking for it.
No, it's 850-857-4700.
And you can give them a call. And this is Travis Thompson from Climatech. We keep getting a lot of text message questions, and that's great. We love to hear from our listeners. So 850-437-1620. How does one know when it is time for a 1999 unit to be replaced, even though it's working okay?
It's a little bit of two parts to that. One is your budget. Secondly, the overall life expectancy of that unit it's there, it's reached it. Now, that doesn't mean it may run for another 10 years. If it's maintained and it's clean, the only thing you kind of start dealing with there is your energy efficiency. If it's a 99 unit, it's clearly not doing what it was when it was new. And depending on the condition of it, we see a lot of people that will hang on to a unit like that a really long time and finally change it and then think, man, I wish I'd have done that sooner, because they see what happens to their utility bills. So you may be spending a lot more a month on your power bill than you think you are, because it's gradually worked its way up on you, and power bills have gone up as well. So that kind of creeps up. And then when you change it, you notice, wow, that was a bigger difference than I thought. So, those are things to consider. And then there's a lot of new technology out there that you might be interested in as well. But if you've got to make it run, keep it clean, and you can run them for a long time, but you just outweigh that cost of changing it with your power bill.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's probably worth it.
Yeah, I've seen some drastic changes. I mean, we've really seen, even up to the $200 range in reduction of a power bill. And people are like, holy cow. So, yeah, there can be a very big jump, in what you do with your money there. 850-437-1620.
We still have time left on the program if you have a question or a comment. So we've been talking about the weather, and it's yucky, it's humid. How is that affecting our indoor air quality and our HVAC systems?
Well, that's a good question. The air quality right now, what you'll see is, because it's not really that hot, your air conditioners aren't running a bunch. We touched on this a little bit, I think, the first time I was on here. You've kind of got this thing where your air conditioner's not running, but the AC is what removes your humidity.
Yeah.
So your humidity is just slowly building up and creeping up in the house, and you kind of need to run that AC a little bit to remove some of the humidity. And that's where some of the newer systems come in that do a really good job of that with the variable speed drive compressors. You're able to run that unit very slow and low. That way it's just dragging out a little humidity, not doing a whole lot of cooling, and the house stays really crisp. And that's one thing we like to, advertise about these new systems. They make the air feel crisp. I don't know if you've ever felt that when you walk into certain department stores and things like that. It's almost like a cool, crisp feeling, and then you don't feel cold once you're in the store, but you can't get that at your house.
Exactly.
And that's that's what these newer systems will do. And you'll find that, even 75, 76 degrees for some people may sound too warm. But if you can get a house at 75, 76 and the humidity in the low 50s or upper 40s, that feels great. It really does.
Probably feels so comfortable, and again, saves you a lot of money.
It does. It does. They're not turning on and off, and that does save a lot of money.
Yeah, which is the name of the game. And give Climatech a call. I mean, this is the time where you want to get serviced. I mean, it is not the dead middle of summer.
Right.
Like we said last time, you're not having a 4th of July party tomorrow and something happens with your system, and then it's panic mode. So this is a time to get serviced. I mean, check out all of your options. Do you have a website or a Facebook page we can point people to?
We do. ClimatechProAir.com, and that's ClimaTech, ClimatechProAir.com. You can get online there. We've got most of what we talk about here. We try to put some things on there about. We've got a lot of our product line, the different things that we sell. You can call us. We come out and do free estimates. So if you're thinking about a system replacement, we'll come out and do the things we're talking about doing. Look at the load calculation, look at your duct work, be glad to give you options. We're not in any way or any of our guys pressure sales. I don't have any guys that are comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that. We are more than happy to just come out and give you options, let you look at it, and you can decide.
Yeah, and just education.
Yep, that's it.
On what all of their options are, and then you can decide what direction you want to go to. We have another question that came through. It's more about the R22 that we were talking about in the beginning of the segment.
Right.
Is it true that the replacement for R22 does not cool as well as original R22? Will this make my system run longer to cool my house?
There is a drop-off with most blends, is what that is referring to. The R22... What it amounts to, the blends aren't quite as efficient as R22 was. But the thing to keep in mind is if your system's running on R22, you're already nowhere near as efficient as you were at the beginning. So I wouldn't recommend R22 and tell somebody that, hey, it's as good as gold, good as new. But if you're in a position where you need to get by with it, you can get by. But yes, there is a little fall off, and it depends. There's multiple blends that you can use in replacement of R22, and it depends on which blend you choose as to how much fall off you get. But you do get a little bit of fall off. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting. And I mean, like we say, sometimes with our systems, it's out of sight, out of mind, so you don't always think about it. And I like that you come on the show and you educate our listeners like, hey, these are some things that I need to consider, because I had no idea.
Right.
I mean, I was talking to some people before we came on the show, and I was like, I've never even heard of this and all the myths that are going on with this right now.
And it happened because of some commercials that I was actually called about and asked me if I had heard them. So I started looking into it, and I just want everybody to know the truth of it. It's not the perfect fix. I'm not here to sell everybody R22. That's not my goal. But I just want everybody to know the facts. And, there are things that can be done. You don't have to be forced in a corner about anything.
Absolutely. So 850-437-1620. We still have time left. For a couple more questions, you can give us a call or a text. What other things are you seeing on the streets when you're out servicing the field?
One of the things we see a lot, we talked about a little bit ago, is the corrosion, coil corrosion. We live in a very salt air environment, so there's a lot of corrosion that we see quite a bit. That's one of the reasons that we do sell the American Standard product. It does a very good job. It's had studies done by the U.S. Navy. It's had studies done by Purdue that are independent studies that show that it holds its efficiency much longer than a standard spine or a standard coil. So it does a good job, and it's all aluminum. It just doesn't have the electrolysis eat it up like a lot of the other coils do. And what happens there is once that starts to break down, that aluminum and copper, your heat transfer starts to go away. So now my unit's less and less efficient the longer that happens and the worse it gets. So the longer I can maintain a good clean coil that keeps doing the heat transfer it's supposed to, if I've paid for a higher efficiency system, I get to maintain that efficiency much longer. So there's lots of independent studies out there on that, and that's one we get asked a lot about. And then having said that, the warranty it's a pretty big issue because there's, like I said, most companies don't warranty their coils when you get within certain miles of salt water. Well, most of our area here is within that range. So, you may have a system that is or is not covered by salt warranty. And, that's something that you need to ask about and know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. What is an AC, duct vent? How often should they be cleaned? Is that something that you do?
We actually work with a company that will have clean them when we feel like it's necessary. Duct cleaning is something that I think it's probably done in some cases where it's not needed. Duct cleaning, it's needed in certain things happen that may require it, and it's hard to say which ones because every house again is a little bit different. But most houses, when we get into a duct system that's been installed properly for years, the duct system itself is not very clean, or I'm sorry, not very dirty. When you look into the grills at your house, a lot of times people will look around the edge of their AC grill and they see dust or dirt right there at the ceiling, and they automatically think that the duct system's dirty and that's where the dirty is coming from. But what's actually happening there is your seal around the sheetrock in that grill is not made, and you're actually pulling a little bit of dust out of your attic right there. If you take a flashlight and look up into that ductwork, most of the time behind that grill you'll find nice clean flecks that still has white sheetrock spackling on it that's never been dirty from the day the house was built. So you kind of have to look at each one.
All right. We have another text message question. Is American Standard made in the U.S.? They said, I would hope so. Haha. Thanks for all of the info today.
It is Tyler, Texas. So that is a U.S. made product.
I kind of love that. I mean, I would hope so, but I just want to verify.
Hey, you have to ask these days.
And that's what we're here. We're asking Travis. Exactly, right. You do, because you really never know. We have about a minute and a half left in the program. I mean, so talk about how long you've been in business, kind of your background, and where people can contact you.
Sure. We've been in business. My dad started the business in '78, so we've been doing it ever since I was 2, so we've been around quite a while.
He's been out in the field since he was 2.
Not quite, but it wasn't long after that. It's probably been illegal. But yeah, we've been doing it a while. He's still with us too, so we work together, and we're able to, we've learned a lot over the years, just being around, seeing things change. We've been in this same location, so we deal a lot with the same problems, like we're talking about the salt air and the corrosion and the dirty coils. We've kind of seen all of this stuff here. So, and anybody that needs us can give us a call. Our number again is 850-857-4700. And
you can check them out on the web.
That's right. Climatech, Climatech, climatechproair.com.
All right. Do you guys have Facebook? Because I know that all the things are on Facebook.
Yes, you can find Climatech on there. That's right. We are.
Yeah. So just, give them a Google, check out their website, and give them a call and have Travis and his team come out, give you a diagnosis. You guys do kind of the free first initial visit.
That's right.
So that's very important to note. And they're going to educate you about everything, all of your options. And I like what you said. You're not a pressure salesman. No. You just want people to know your options.
That's right. That's right.
And then make an informed decision based on the information that you're giving them. So why don't we give our listeners the number one more time?
850-857-4700.
If you missed any part of this segment, you can check it out on newsradio923.com, and we'll have that on our podcast page for you to refer back to. So thank you so much, Travis. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
We have Emerald Coast Coins coming up next.